come off? Right, I've passed the first test. Get the mic off the mic stand. Here we go. Can we see anything on the screen? Nope. This wig will make sense in a second. How do I get my presentation on the screen? Is anyone more tech savvy than me? Oh, is it coming across? Yeah. Okay, cool. Is it coming across? Oh, sorry, shit. Sorry. Sorry, guys. So that was just it's a really important article I was working on there. There we go. Okay. Where's play? Well, the other guys had these fancy clickers. How does that work? Right, hello everyone. How are we all doing this afternoon? You feeling good? Yeah? Okay. My name is Joe Nakamoto. It's my real name is Joe Hall, but Joe Nakamoto is my Bitcoin maxi alter ego, where I slam dunk on shitcoiners and try to spread the Bitcoin word to everyone. Before we kick off today, discussing how to introduce your grandma or grandpa, it's 2022, we have to be inclusive, into Bitcoin. There's going to be a trigger warning. There's a trigger warning. Yeah, I'm going to stereotype old people a lot here. So if you're really, really old, I'm really sorry. It's just, it's kind of the point of this thing. I'm really sorry. Anyway, I'm really happy to see so many people in this room today. Feels like a lecture, but it's not going to be like that. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be fun, and hopefully, we're going to all go away from today in a position to introduce Bitcoin to our grandmas and grandpas. Before we get into that, I'm going to explain to you why you should maybe listen to me today. Why on earth am I stood here? I often wonder that a lot of the time, especially wearing a wig, which I should probably explain, actually. Basically, the fancy dress shop didn't have any grey wigs, so this was the next best thing. I don't know how long I'm going to keep it on, so enjoy it while it lasts. Scarcity right there. So yeah, I'm a journalist. I work full-time for Cointelegraph. I'm not used to talking myself. I'm used to usually interviewing other people, so please bear with me. Yeah, obviously you can see all these things up here, these letters. They're not hieroglyphics. They actually are codes for shitcoins, which obviously we don't talk about, but I just want to highlight that that's there. Cointelegraph is one of the largest crypto, shitcoin, whatever you want to call it, media publications. I'm called the Bitcoin resident maxi there. People have referred to me before as the Trojan horse. Not to blow my own trumpet too much, let's move on. Why we should listen to me with regards to this talk today. I've orange-pilled several old people. Some of them are family members, which I think still count. I do a lot of getting out of this Bitcoin bubble that we all live in that I hold microphones to people on the street and I try to get them to accept Bitcoin from me to varying degrees of success. We'll come to that in a second. And I also got my dad, who's 63, 64, I actually forget, to hold his own keys, which I'm sure you've all got parents here. Getting them to hold their own keys is quite a feat. Anyway, it's the afternoon, we need our coffee. I've got a minute of video here to liven us all up of me making people happy in the streets around the world. This is kind of what I do as my passion project. And it's not playing. Oh, no. How do I get sound to come out of speakers? Is that a possibility? Is there speakers here? Should have checked this beforehand. ¿Sería posible, ponerlo en altavoz? Sí, ¿tienen speakers o no? Speakers, altavoz. Oh, no. Oh, that's a good idea. Nice one, man. Cool. What's your name, sorry? Umberto? Gilberto. Gilberto, if I had something free to give you, do you want a Tic Tac? It's an orange pill. There you go, mate. Thanks, Gilberto. Yeah, exactly right. Don't trust, verify. Okay, so. Hey, it's Joe. I'm here in Gibraltar. We're going to talk to some people about Bitcoin and Beer It. I'm in Amsterdam, Lugano. So I'm going to click pay. You do Face ID. And then just like that, Speed. Yeah, you now have €3.
Thank you.
Face ID. And just like that, you've received your first Bitcoin.
Are you kidding me? That's true?
Yeah, you've received your first ever Bitcoin. How do you feel?
Yeah, this is a very special moment.
So now you have €5, 2 cents, or 25,000 sats. Comment tu te sens?
Yeah. It's first Bitcoin now. Let's go. Yo.
Do you think they like digital currencies?
If they could eat it, maybe.
Oh, same. Wasted.
Just like that. Oh my gosh. That's so cool.
Genuine reaction, right?
Yeah.
2, high five. Ok, check. Ciao, bonne journée. Au revoir. Yeah, I really like giving high fives. Right. Sorry. It's coming off. It's actually really itchy. Oh, Paco, I love you, bro, but I can't. Yeah, this one's real. Yeah. Right, so yeah, as you can see, I like to give out free sats to people, but along the way I often get rejected. So I'd like to think that I do. Sorry, yes? It depends on the day, and it depends on how much random strangers on the internet have given me. So sometimes it can be like $10, $15, but if it's just me self-funding, it's like 2 or 3. But if you want to send me some sats, I will give them out, and you will see it on video at a later date. So I'm a journalist, and when you write stories, when you learn about it in journalism school or wherever, like I spent a few years at Bloomberg before jumping ship and writing for Cointelegraph. You do the who, what, where, when, why, how. So my presentation, as you might have already guessed, is going to follow that structure as well. So who are we talking about when we're referring to the who of the older people? And it's really crucial we sort of drill down into this because it makes sense as to the why. Now, obviously, it's boomers and post-war generation people, so we're talking, 55 plus. Pop culture. Who's this guy with the small hands? Nice. Next to him? No, who said Morty? It was just definitely Rick. On his left? Judi Dench. Okay, nice. Got some. And then this fella here, Rat Poison Squared. Very good. On his left? Nice, cool. Some environmentalists in the house. And oh, yeah, forget about that one. That one, that's not supposed to be there as of a couple of months ago. I wrote this, before June. So as you can see by these stats, despite the fact that the world's demographics is skewed towards young people, 25% of the world is less than 15 years old, only 10% is over 65. However, when it comes to wealth concentration, the average net worth is considerably higher than my own. So the average net worth is $1.2 million or 60 Bitcoin at today's prices. And of the 3,000 billionaires worldwide, very few of them are young. 90% of them are over 50 years old. Can you understand why we're getting to why we should be orange pilling the older people? Or sorry, introducing them to Bitcoin. The stats are here in case you're worried about me spreading FUD. I'm not doing that. Okay, so on to the what. What does it mean to introduce someone to Bitcoin? And it's key that we focus on the introduce here. We're not trying to orange pill old people into becoming seed oil disrespecters, toxic maximalists, dunking on Twitter and spending hours and hours like hitting the like button on sailors' tweets. That's not what we're creating here. We've got to lead gently, and we've got to go about it in a way that's approachable and understandable. Another key thing is don't overwhelm. I've made this mistake way too many times when talking to people about Bitcoin. You think you're having a nice, amicable chat, and before you know it, you're bringing up charts of macroeconomics and how fiat's going to zero, and everything you've known has been a scam. I'm sure you can all probably relate to these sort of conversations. And before you know it, you've ruined the meal or the beer out with a friend. What are we doing as well is, this is my personal preference here, but I always like to send sats. I feel like there's a real feel-good factor to seeing sats hit your phone instantly with no intermediary. I know that when it's custodial, it's a bit different, but come on, just play along with me here. And sometimes I even use some of the Bitcoin games. Snake, for example, is a really good one. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but there's Bitcoin Snake where you can earn sats by playing Snake. Fun for all the family, inclusive of older people. And the other thing, and this isn't just age dependent, this is to anyone you're speaking to about Bitcoin is to use inclusive language. And I cannot stress this point enough. When we're talking about orange pilling someone, most people literally think about these Tic Tacs I just handed out to Gilberto. You know, orange pill is a weird concept. I mean, I introduced my youngest brother to Bitcoin, who's now 17 years old. And in order to introduce him to Bitcoin, we had to watch The Matrix together, because obviously orange pilling comes from the red pill and the blue pill and all that sort of thing. He's 17, and he is younger than The Matrix. So, you know, we're already in this weird demographic of sort of millennial / post-millennial. So we've got to talk about it in words that are relevant to these people that we're trying to introduce to Bitcoin. So talk about money, talk about government money, don't talk about fiat money, because most people, when you talk about fiat, they genuinely think about the cars. And just for an anecdote, I spoke to the chairperson for the Crypto All-Parliamentary Group in the UK, which is the new political sort of body which is there to help Parliament understand crypto, not just Bitcoin, sorry, but that's their job. And the lady, the interview's now live on YouTube, by the way, check it out. She was talking about how when she was talking to other MPs about fiat money, most of them generally thought that she was talking about a Fiat 500 car. And she said that during the interview. So the word fiat is still lost on a lot of people. So please be inclusive. Who, what, what's next? Where? Nice. Someone's listening. So where's the best place to introduce someone to Bitcoin? Not on a swing, okay? This is an example of what not to do. We're looking for safe, comfortable spaces. My personal favorite is long drives, because, you know, you get into that sort of comfortable stage where you're sitting next to someone, you can have that nice long chat about what's going wrong with the world and how Bitcoin might be the solution. I was actually orange pilled by my chauffeur. Yeah, I had a chauffeur for a while. It was sadly in the Ivory Coast, so it was more for my safety than for luxury. But he was receiving money from his son, who lived in Paris. And I was working for Bloomberg at the time, and I was like, wait a second, you're using Bitcoin from your son who lives in Paris? Sorry, let me just tell you how that's a scam, and it's a Ponzi scheme, and you're completely wrong. And little by little, I realized that I was, in fact, completely wrong. I'd been misled by all the mainstream media nonsense that we receive. And it was in driving to work every day for about 4 months that eventually we learned to really understand each other, understand where we were coming from, and talked about Bitcoin pretty much incessantly. Another one is playing games. I recently played a game of Jenga with Adam Back, who is kind of like a known figure in the space, let's say. Something to do with the white paper. But yeah, we were playing Jenga together, and we had this really lovely chat, and it was one of those things where, because he was concentrating on the game of Jenga, he started to open up a little bit more, and yeah, we had an interesting conversation, let's say. And I think that, yeah, playing games in that respect is a really useful way of opening things up. And the final thing, don't pitch. Bitcoin is not a sales strategy. It's not an MLM scheme. You're not getting points for orange pilling more people. And I fall into this trap a lot. It's very difficult to climb out of once people think, oh God, he's shilling Bitcoin again. Here we go. And people just switch off. You know, we've got to keep people on our side in order to get them to that position of understanding, okay, what is money? And then building from there. Before I pass on to the when, I didn't do something at the start, which I was supposed to do. Can I see a show of hands? Anyone who has managed to orange pill their parents? Okay, nice. Grandparents? Wow, one in the room. Okay, you've come to the right place. Mate, I should have taken notes from you before coming on stage. And just family members as a whole. Have you introduced a family member to Bitcoin? Most people. Good work, guys. Good work, guys. There's a point on that in a little bit. So the when. When should we start chatting, Gran? As the African proverb says, the best time to plant a tree was 13 years ago, or precisely on the 3rd of January 2009. Really good time to start learning about Bitcoin. The second best time is now. So, thanks. At the end of this talk, or at the end of this day today, if you want to, just chat with your parents, chat with your grandparents, they're always going to show an interest in what their children are doing. At least I would like to think so in my idealistic world, where parents show interest in their children. As a result of that, if you're showing an interest in Bitcoin, then maybe they might show an interest in it by proxy of you. I mean, that's what happened with my dad, and then eventually my mum, although she's being a very tough nut to crack. So yeah, start now. Just start broaching that topic of conversation, but do it in a really light, easygoing way. You know, we don't have to die on this hill with our parents or, you know, grandparents. It's really not worth it. I've got a prompt here because I was asking about this speech last night amongst some sort of older, can I say boomer Bitcoiners? Greg Foss was one of them, and he said, Joe, you must tell this story to everyone tomorrow. Fast, Greg, fast. I really hope he doesn't watch this. And essentially, I said, you know, have you managed to speak to your parents or grandparents about Bitcoin? He was like, well, no, they're dead and gone now, but I did manage to get my dad to use a credit card. And if you know Greg Foss, you'll know that he's a Wall Street veteran, loves the financial system, loves, I guess he used to love fiat, and now he loves Bitcoin. I think that's fair to say. And now he, after multiple conversations and a really long struggle, he managed to convince his dad, who is a cash is king kind of guy, to start using credit cards. Result, right? You know, we're doing the same thing now with Bitcoin. A few weeks and months go by, and his dad receives a letter in the post. And it says, Mr. Foss, I don't actually know his first name, Mr. Dad Greg Foss, we've received a bill here for $4,995. Someone has been spending money, buying things in Walmart up to the amount of $5,000. At which point, you know, Foss's dad gets on the phone to Foss, and it's like, Foss, because apparently they call each other Foss. I learned this yesterday, not even joking. You know, who's run up this credit card bill? What's this scam? Why did you get me to use this credit card? And at which point, Greg is there, you know, shaking his head, thinking, oh crap, what have I, you know, introduced my father to here? And his father no longer trusts credit cards for that reason. So when you're introducing an older person to Bitcoin, make sure you do it in a safe way, in a secure way, in a way that means they won't think a year down the line, oh God, I'm getting scammed. I imagine that if you have introduced someone to Bitcoin, maybe last year between June and December, they might be feeling a little bit scammed, given that the price is now, 15K. You know, if someone bought in at 60K and now we're at 15, they do feel a little bit scammed. So feel free to be that emotional, you know, shoulder to cry on, or that piece of support, or say, don't worry, it's just volatile, but it's volatile upwards, right? And then the final one, it's a prompt from my girlfriend actually today. You know when old people do that thing and they go, well in my day, we had this thing and it worked a lot better. It's fun to flip that on its head and be like, well, the thing is with Bitcoin is that it's kind of harking back to some of those old day things when money worked. For example, you could save your money in a bank account or Bitcoin, and it would, you know, keep its purchasing power over time. So what Bitcoin's trying to do is sort of tap into that vibe of things actually working again and making us hopeful about the future. So I think it's something that's worth considering, and maybe use that as your prompt or your cue to get into talking about the world's best money. Am I right? On to the why. There was the point I wanted to bring up earlier. Someone tweeted this, and I stole it, because that's what everyone does on Twitter, don't they? Hyper-Bitcoinization starts at home. It's so important that we talk to our partners, family members, kids, whatever, set them up with a wallet, set your parents up with a wallet, because if we can't talk about Bitcoin with those we love the most and hold the most dear to us, then how are we going to, you know, get nation-state adoption around the world? As I mentioned or alluded to in the first slide, there are some really wealthy people over the age of 60. I'm not sure about you, but I much preferred Bitcoin over 50K than sub 20K. And as a little reminder to that, the now wealthiest person in the world, with not the biggest company in the world, do you remember when he bought into Bitcoin in January 2021 and it did this? Do you remember the Elon Musk candle? It's like 8K in one day. That's just one insanely wealthy dude deciding to put some Bitcoin in his balance sheet. What happens when more of these wealthy dudes decide to, or girls, sorry, inclusive, decide to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet? As it says here, you know, there's $68 trillion, according to the US Census Bureau, wealth transfer as the oldies, as I'm going to call them from now on, die. So there is going to be this tremendous transfer of wealth as we go through sort of hyper-Bitcoinization. And I don't know about you, but I think the millennials and the Gen Zs and the sort of slightly older, slightly younger folk are going to be looking at Bitcoin as their store of value, as opposed to an alternative. You know, who's realistically looking at cash and going, oh yeah, I want to put all my inheritance in a bank, for example. And then a final one that this really irks me whenever people say that Bitcoin is for anyone. It's not. Bitcoin is for everyone. And I think that we almost have a duty to evangelize. Tapping into the speech that was mentioned earlier, we have almost this obligation to help people get there and to help people understand what Bitcoin is and what it can mean for people. We're almost there. We're almost onto the how, which is the meat of this sandwich. So how do we get Pops or Granny to download that wallet? There was an amazing meme in the last talk about, just get them to download a Moon wallet. And it's, the guy drowning and then the high five of drowning and then he goes. I thought that was an amazing demonstration of, again, what not to do. There's got to be more than just get them to download a wallet, even though I have just written it up there. But as I was saying, make it personal, emotional, thoughtful. These are people we love in our lives. They're going to have a little bit more time for us than me trying to give random sats out to people in the street. Again, a personal preference here, but lead with lightning. It always blows people's minds when they realize that getting money is as easy as receiving an email or instant WhatsApp communication. This third point, I did this with my dad. He's one of those guys that he keeps loads of phone numbers in his head. I think it's like an old people thing. Like they think that, the internet's going to go down or, iCloud's going to log them out or whatever. But he literally does still remember phone numbers. So I thought, well, if he's remembering phone numbers, that's what, 12 digits? Surely he can remember 12 words, right? So yeah, I used to quiz him on that, and now he doesn't even have a seed phrase that he's stamped into and he's buried it somewhere in the garden. He just remembers it in his head, which is like the ultimate, self-sovereignty thing, right? And obviously, if anyone asks or anyone, there's no risk of someone stealing that seed phrase. And then the final point is about inheritance in Bitcoin. Now, this is more controversial. But say your grandparents are, staunch anti-governmentalists and don't like the idea of them being taxed to high heaven when they die. I'm not saying you should avoid taxes, but I'm just saying that Bitcoin is probably quite an effective way of doing it, and that's something that's worth considering if you're that way inclined. It's, that whole not financial advice thing, but I'm just saying it might be worth a conversation. That could be a really interesting way of introducing someone to Bitcoin. Call it like inheritance pilling or something like that. And the final thing, I really want to stress this, is patience, patience, and more patience. Think about how long it took you to get to the point where you're going to Bitcoin conferences in effectively like third world / developing countries around the world. It's been a long, long journey, right? It all started with a conversation or a meme or an idea, or maybe it was a family member who took you on this journey, but it's going to take a long time. And that's something that I think we're all realizing through this bear market. I mean, I'm relatively new to the space. I've only really been covering it for like 2.5, 3 years now. But I'm realizing, oh crap, we're going to be with each other for 10, 20 years. And we're going to be doing a lot more conferences together and a lot more chats with our respective family members. So take your time, take it easy on yourselves. And my DMs are open on Twitter. I would love to hear how you get on because there's a sort of second element to this speech, which is that I'm also a reporter for Cointelegraph, and I love to write feel-good Bitcoin stories. So if you orange pill your gran, please let me know. I'd love to write about it. So yeah, get out there and start pilling your gran or granddad. Okay? Very, very important to do so, yeah? I did try to time it. Oh, I've got 2 minutes, sweet. I did actually want to open up for some questions. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but it's my talk, so I'll do what I want. Do you have any questions before I sort of sum up? Yes, man with long hair. Where would you like to go? Oh, sorry. Just stay here. Okay, cheers, Paco. By the way, follow Paco de la India. Like, he's one of the coolest people in Bitcoin, going all around Africa, introducing people to Bitcoin of all ages, right? Yeah, fair to say? Yeah, kind of my idol. Anyone else have a question about it? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, what are the most common objections that you get from people, either people in general or specifically at all?
Sure, I like this. I've actually thought about keeping a spreadsheet of my most common rejections, and because I get it a lot, right? Usually it's the volatility. That's a classic one, and the annoying thing is with the volatility is that it's the hardest one to like rebut. It's well, yeah, it is volatile. I mean, it's as I said, it's volatile upwards, But yeah, you have to think about it in. I mean, I interviewed Saylor the other day, and he said that he sort of changed his tune with regards to holding different currencies. He says that hold your local currency for 3 months, the American dollar for say the next 12 months of expenses, and then Bitcoin for the next 10 years or longer. And I think that's a good way of addressing the volatility. I personally got the instructions wrong, message was unclear, and I just went all in. I was like, well, pay me in Bitcoin, I'm going to spend Bitcoin. And I've been living on a Bitcoin standard since August of last year. So I'm very poor right now. But it's been a hell of a ride. But yeah, the volatility is one of the biggest ones. The environment comes up a lot, and I love having that because I've actually managed to sort of environmental pill a few people. There's all sorts of amazing Bitcoiners doing stuff with Bitcoin in the environment, and actually cover a few of those in the videos. But I'd probably say volatility. The people that are calling it a Ponzi and a scam, it's just... It's frustrating and it's almost laughable, but again, it's just another indicator that we have to be patient. We have to take our time with these things and realize that a lot of people are very misled. I was incredibly misled prior to actually spending the time learning about Bitcoin, and look at me now. Bitcoin really does change you. But yeah, thank you for your question. Any other questions, or should I wrap up? Yes. The idiot-proof one, yeah, or oldie people-proof, yeah. So I've bounced around a lot of wallets, and I used to be like Die-Hard Moon wallet, MUUN, and now I just go for Wallet of Satoshi. I know it's custodial, but it has 2 buttons. It's the smallest wallet for download size, and it always works first time. Plus, it has this really nice UX where you press send, and the screen goes bright green. Yeah, You're the one that orange pilled your grandparents, so that's probably why. Okay, and it pops up bright green, which looks good for a video as well. I'm kind of playing to that, but it's just the easiest way. And then also they've got the static QR code, so if you're doing fun stuff with it, like a demonstration, like hey guys, like tweet out a Twitter invoice, which is what I do sometimes. Please, can you send this person sats to see how Bitcoin works? And usually, it's. I just find it's the easiest tool. I mean, you're not going to get someone to go fully self-sovereign straight away into their Bitcoin journey. It's going to take some time. So I don't mind really using a custodial solution, at least temporarily. So I'd go Wallet of Satoshi. I'm not paid by them, by the way, either. I think I should wrap it there as it's 3 o'clock. Do I have a last slide? Oh, yeah. This is me. Follow me here, and this is one of my favorite memes. So for those of you sleeping at the back, I don't care. Didn't read, never selling. And yeah, my TikTok is inbound. Bring it on, China. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.